not managing time properly can lead to some heavy problems.
I think it's safe to say I haven't always been this efficient in terms of managing my own time, punctuality, everything else. Through obviously learning through Democracy University, my experience with the students, also the lecturers, my tutor was very good, influential as well. I managed to kind of get to grips with where I was on my journey.
You know, there are those students who are, utterly driven, and when they get into the workforce, they'll be utterly driven. But I think a large proportion of students today will find somewhere some balance at managing time both well and badly.
I've got to say I was probably one of the most chaotic beings I've ever encountered. Quite good at turning up at lectures, but didn't really get the study and social balance quite right.
I would look at my module guide in terms of when my essays were due in, presentations, etc., and just balance between all the modules that I had, and have one that was number one that I knew I would struggle with, and one that I knew that I would get on with quite well in terms of getting on with the objectives, etc., because I didn't struggle as much, and just making sure that I finished everything a week before. That way it gave me enough time to change anything.
It was only when I took stock quite late on in my degree of where I was and where I felt I wanted to be academically and in other aspects of life that I actually reversed that and started to organise my time, value my time, and find a good balance between the social and academic.
The context of my organisation changed because I went from education to work, but the principles of what I'd learnt were very familiar and very important in that respect.
I have a diary which I find very, very helpful because it really helps me to coordinate when things are coming up, how many things I have coming up, and how am I going to tackle these.
We all tend to have access to mobile phones or tablets or phablets or whatever these days, and I think that if you use your Outlook well, then you can pretty much you should at least be able to manage your day pretty sensibly and on time.
I have the classic, which is a to-do list. Not that I finish everything on my to-do list, but I do one for the week, and each week I reflect on what I did good and bad in terms of my time management skills. And then I try and put that into the next week to make it better.
If you have a jar and you have different sized stones and rocks and you have sand, if you put in the big stones first, the big rocks first, and then you can fill the sand around it, then the jar will be completely full. If you did it the other way around, and you did all your small tasks first, you'd never fit your big rocks in the jar. They just wouldn't fit. You're not making best use of your time if you see the jar as your analogy of time. And that has really stuck with me as a way of working going forwards because it's really true as well.